All right, we are live. We are here. We're going to talk about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage. Don't really have much to talk about before we get into it. So let's. I think I know what Josh is doing. So let's just get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan, and joining us this week from Victims and Villains and That's High Praise, a Nicolas Cage podcast from Victims and Villains, Captain Nostalgia himself, Josh Berkeley. High praise. Yeah. Before we get into the four films that we're going to talk about tonight, I'm going to stop that. Before we get into that, we have Josh on here, not only to talk about Nicolas Cage, but also to talk about something Victims and Villains is doing next week in Winchester, Virginia. Josh, do you want to talk a bit about the Horrific Hope Film Festival? Oh, wait. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We need to do all that again because I forgot
Oh
to
no.
unmute you guys. So that's on me.
Okay. All right.
Um,
I'll turn back
Did,
around.
yeah,
we look good?
yeah. Oh, yeah, we looked fine. So,
Good.
yeah, I'm gonna have to do this again. I'll fix it in post. Hey, everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan,
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
and joining us this week as we talk about the man, the myth himself, Nicolas Cage, from Victims and Villains, and That's High Praise, a Nicolas Cage podcast, is Captain Nostalgia himself, Josh Berkeley. Hello, Josh. Now, what are you doing?
If you've seen Willy's Wonderland, you understand the reference.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I love it.
Yeah. So before we get into Nicolas Cage, we're doing this all again because I forgot to unmute these guys. But before we get into Nicolas Cage, Josh is also here to talk about something very exciting going on with Victims and Villains next week. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about the Horrific Hope Film Festival.
What's up? This is our inaugural year. We're super happy to be doing this at the Alamo Draft House for the low price of $15. You get 2 days, 36 short films, as well as 6 feature-length films, including the latest release from IFC, Midnight, Hatching.
Wow.
But also on top of that, this is the first film festival that is horror-centric, mental health focused, meaning we are celebrating the genre of horror, and you're getting everything from horror comedies, horror adjacent dramas, as well as slashers, the grindhouse, just everything that encompasses this beautiful genre. And we're doing it while having very real conversations about mental health, fears, anxieties, depression, and we're also going to be providing mental health resources to all those in attendance, both locally and regionally.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a clip. If you guys are ready, I have the trailer pulled up for the film festival itself. So we're gonna take a little break here and recover from me messing up the show at the top. And we're gonna roll the clip. So enjoy the trailer for the Horrific Hope Film Festival. Whoever edited that trailer, good
Man.
on them. Yeah.
What a job. Well done.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be there. We are helping sponsor the event, so I will be there in person helping Josh run the raffles and doing some video stuff for Victims and Villains. So come by and say hi. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Richmond, Virginia, or not Richmond, Winchester, Virginia.
That's where I live.
Yeah, Winchester, Virginia, at the Alamo Draft House. They've got great food. We're actually doing some food specials for the film festival, correct?
Oh, yes. Would you like me to talk about those for a very brief second?
Tell me.
I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't.
So we have so for Friday night is our is a ladies themed horror night. So we're doing ladies themed drinks, cocktail hour. I mean they'll be available all weekend, but then we have a brunch with their regular brunch menu plus all you can eat cereal, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Saturday we're also going to be doing a chicken bacon ranch pizza in honor of our ghost block called Chicken Bacon Ghost. Then we're also going to be doing in lieu of hatching, we're going to be doing a monster burger that's going to be a obscene amount of cheese and queso, waffle fries, and it's called the Monster Burger. It's primo, so
So good.
I really hope our first year doesn't end in heart attacks. We got some classy cocktails as well, like old fashions and bourbon whiskey drinks, as well as some. For our closing night feature, it's going to be Pandemonium from MJ Dixon, and we have panda themed desserts. So,
Does that mean you just went to Panda Express and got dessert?
no, it actually means that we're doing cookies and cream shake, or you can do the reverse where it's it's chocolate chip cookies and vanilla a la carte.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Wow, dang.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Yeah.
And I'm there the whole time, so this is gonna be like, whoo boy.
I expect food reviews next week.
Oh, you will. I'll just take pictures and post them on our Instagram.
Please do go.
So we don't have all the details worked out for this, but if you tune in next week, there's a chance we may be giving away some tickets to the event. So tune in next week for that, because I forgot to get that all worked out before today. So, yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. The link, if you visit victimsandvillains.net, you can find the Horrific Hope banner.
Yeah. So it's victimsandvillains.net/horrific hope. It'll take you directly to that. You guys can see individual listings for when each film is going to be playing, what part of the block they're going to be, a little bit descriptions about them, which one is going to be a Virginia premiere, a world premiere, which we have 4 of, as well as U.S. premieres, which we have 5 or 6 of, and then you can also get tickets as well.
Yeah. And at the event, we're going to also be doing some raffles, so stay tuned for that. We got a few ideas of what we're going to contribute to that. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Anything else film festival wise before we move on to today's main topic?
If you go and you come up to our table, we'll give you a nice crisp high five too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, worth it.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't work like Deadpool, man. You still have to pay the admission price, but you get the buy a ticket, get a crisp high five.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think with that, it is time to move on to today's main topic, Nicolas Cage. And of course, I had to pull this picture up for us to start. So today, in honor of the unbearable weight of massive talent, which is Nick Cage playing Nick Cage, coming to theaters this Friday, we're talking about Nick Cage. Nicolas Cage for the next hour and change. We have 4 different films that we each picked out that give you all different ranges of Nick Cage. And when you think of Nick Cage in range, it's all over the place. So it's going to be a great conversation here. And Josh, since you are our guest, we are going to have you go first and tell us a little bit about your pick.
This was my number 2 movie of last year. This movie wrecks me emotionally every time I've seen it. This is a little movie called Pig. It is about a Cage plays a recluse whose truffle pig gets stolen, so he embarks on a journey to recover said pig. And let me tell you, if you are expecting John level antics, this is the wrong movie for you. But if you are looking for a genuine character driven story with weirdly shady but yet like still tonally imbalanced weird truffle mafia stuff, this is for you.
Yeah, so this has been on my radar for a while now, especially with the press for Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Nick Cage has gone on record saying this is his favorite film that he's ever done. And it does have the little bit of like a John Wick feel at the beginning, but it's definitely not that. Like I was describing this to my wife earlier. It's like John Wick, but instead of guns, it's food. And
Yeah.
I still feel like that's still such a terrible like assessment of this movie. Like it gives people like the right like taste so that like it still like diverts their expectations of what it's gonna be. So maybe I like it.
I think the way it's like John Wick is Rob here has a reputation just like John Wick. Instead of using like violence and guns to like get his way, he uses his words. And it's like the scene that stood out to me was when they're in the restaurant and he's like berating the chef. If I think that's the right word, where he's just like, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, none of this is real. Like, I absolutely love that scene. Like the rest of the movie, like up to that point, I was like, I really don't know like how, like, I get it. He lost his pick. But at that point I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I get why he's the way he is.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the first time that I've ever been on one of these supersized specials, so I don't honestly know. Is like, are spoilers allowed here, or?
I mean, I don't think we should spoil. For this one, I wouldn't spoil the main ending. Right. But we can talk about like character motivations and like why he's going after this pig. Why the pig is so important.
Okay. So like for me, like I think the thing that always gets me most about this movie is the fact that you're expecting, like, you have that conversation between him and like the overlord of kind of like the Portland culinary scene.
Yeah.
And then, you know, instead of like kind of just accepting the fact that like he lost, like he legitimately cooks a meal for his enemy. And it's not just any meal, it is the meal that like basically saved his marriage, or is like one of his happiest memories with his wife. And that scene, I was on a plane coming back from Birmingham, and I just was on the plane, like that scene just broke, and he goes to like get the whiskey or the bourbon, and I'm just like crying profusely. Like, dude, like this movie just, again, it wrecks me every time I watch it, just because it hits all of the right all of like the right characters. Like I feel like you're again, you're expecting John Wick, and you get this like beautiful like art house film.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it definitely is. Of the 4 movies we're going to watch today, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's definitely the most beautiful of the 4 movies, like hands down. Like cinematography wise, it's absolutely gorgeous. Character motivation wise, I mean, perfect. And just like raw emotion wise. No. Is there?
Are you saying that the weird green yellow tint of Gone in 60 Seconds isn't beautiful?
Oh, that's just perfect.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about it, because it definitely puts it almost in a direct year, the green and yellow tint and the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's okay. I mean, you guys have just. I like this movie a lot more than I was expecting to, because I said this before we went live. Like, I am Nick Caged out at this point. Like, it's going to be a while before I watch another Nicolas Cage film, personally. But I mean, it's not a bad thing. It would be like if I watched, 5 Denzel Washington movies in a row. Like,
Sure.
I've got to take some time from that, you know. But I don't really know what else to say to like cover what you know, like you guys haven't already covered. So I mean, I'm just throwing my hat into the ring and going same with all of you with this thing.
This.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
Did you expect it to be so food centric, Ryan? Because I think that's the part that actually surprised me.
No,
It was like,
I just was like, oh, it's a Nicolas Cage film called Pig. Okay.
well, I mean, I even read the little blurb about what the description was beforehand, and like when the first like chapter 1 title sequence came, it's something like rustic truffle tartlet or something like that. Was chapter 1, and I went, that's a weird way to do that.
Well, I like okay, so it started up and it like I was kind of like Alan. Like I was like, okay, this is definitely a good performance from Cage. I definitely get why this was picked, to do. But then I was like, truffles, mushrooms, like this is kind of as weird as I thought it was going to be. But then it got to that like core of like what the motivation was. I'm like, oh, okay, this is really weird, and I don't understand why I'm liking this as much as I am, but I'm liking it. I'm like,
Where's my
that's
pig?
one of the most. I think that's one of the most surprising elements of this movie is that it has this like seedy underbelly to it, and it feels almost like a mafia film without actually being like an outright mafia film. Because like this movie, I mean, again, I know I'm gonna break a cinematic rule here. It has a Fight Club in it, but we don't talk about Fight Club, so does it really?
I mean, I think if you're talking about mafia in Portland, yeah, they would be dealing in truffles and like exiguous fancy food. Like that's Portland in a nutshell. And I think my favorite line in this whole thing is like he's talking to the kid outside the dad's house, and he's like, "I'm never moving to Seattle." Yeah, fuck Seattle. Like, so as much weight and like gravitas that there is in this performance, there is some levity there when he's just like, "Oh yeah, fuck Seattle." Like,
yeah, that line kills me every time.
Yeah, no, that was great. But the one thing that I made myself laugh a little bit, like halfway through this movie, and I had to pause it because I had an image in my head of like where this movie came from, and I didn't look up anything about this movie after I watched it, so I don't know like the background behind the script or anything like that. But I had this skit in my head play where you had the writers of the movie Babe on their like writing table writing, and then some like dark brooding like The Cure listening guy came in and said, "This is too happy, this sucks, this is our movie. If you want an old man and a pig, this is how you do it."
I think it's a response to Babe.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Like I said, this like Robert Smith looking guy coming in going, "This is our movie. This is too happy."
So, Josh, before the show, you said this was one in your top 10 last year, along with another Nicolas Cage film. We haven't seen it as a group, but tell us a little bit about your other one in the top 10 from 2021.
I will also bring this back to Victims and Villains, and I will brag on Witter Entertainment and Broke Horror Fan that put out this special edition VHS last year. If you're into like horror and like special edition like VHSs, these guys are awesome. These VHSs are legitimately some of the nicest packaged, great customer service, but also like just some of the coolest like special features you can get anywhere. That aside, this movie is just straight up bonkers. This is an hour-and-a-half movie of witchcraft and Nicolas Cage versus animatronics, where he just plays a bunch of pinball, drinks a lot of grape soda, and doesn't say a word. Like, this movie's streaming on Hulu, and I was just like, I kind of expected it was gonna be fun, but I was flabbergasted by how much I adored this movie. This movie is insanely good.
I did not know this is on Hulu. Unlike Ryan, I am not quite Nick Caged out yet, so I might watch that after the show tonight.
I might actually also watch it after the
Yeah.
show.
So Nick Cage is playing pinball and drinking grape soda and fighting animatronics like he does in day-to-day life, and then they decided to film it.
Exactly. There's no script here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, I love the fact that this also, like, for as like simple as it is, like it actually has like lore and like mythology that's like woven into it.
mhm.
And I think that's something that, like, as a film nerd, like, I appreciate too.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on Pig before we move on to Devin's pick?
I want to implement a score in this,
Okay.
if we don't mind. So
Let's do it.
If 1 is Nicolas Cage in City of Angels, and 10 is Nicolas Cage in Vampire's Kiss, where does this movie fall in the Nicolas Cage scale?
This falls. Oh man.
I think it's a 3. I'd give him a solid 3 in this one.
If it wasn't for the Seattle line, I'd be there with you. I think I got to go a little higher and go a 4. It's not quite. It's not quite mid-level, but it's a little bit more subdued. But there is that moment. He does break through.
He does have a moment.
He has that
Nicolas
moment.
Cage.
Yeah. So I'm going to give this a 4. 4.
Perfect.
All right. So, question. So is this like bad?
I mean,
no, not bad. Not bad.
Is
just
this the
subdued.
good one?
No,
Yeah,
it's
'cause I'm
subdued
confused
versus
too.
insane. So in City of Angels, Nicolas Cage isn't Nicolas Cage. He's just
I'm in love with Meg Ryan.
yeah, he's like a human kind of.
Okay,
He-
then
Very.
I
I would
will-
say what the scale is City of Angels is very quiet. Nick Cage. He's watching longingly
Contemplative.
from Meg. Like he's watching her creepingly, and like Goo Goo Dolls is playing. Whereas Vampire's Kiss is like, I'm a vampire. Ah!
All right, so I am gonna go with a 3 and give it the adaptation rating because adaptation is very quiet, but also has some very wonky, weird stuff going into it.
Oh
so-
yeah.
Oh, good.
I'm still confused on like the rating system here, so I'm just gonna go with mid-level Cage. I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Alan and go mid-level because I'm still
Perfect.
confused.
All right. So let's move on to Devin's pick because after all, this is supposed to be Devin's week for the show, and this was all his idea. Devin, tell us about your pick, Raising Arizona.
All right, so my pick's Raising Arizona. Oh my gosh, it's a 1987 Joel and Ethan Coen movie. So it's Coen Brothers movies. This is one of my favorites. This is actually one that I've seen pretty late into my Coen Brothers career. I only saw it a couple months ago, if not a year ago. I forget how late I watched it, but I watched this one pretty recently. I love the cast. I love the cast of this movie. I mean, beyond anything else. I mean, I love Nicolas Cage as High. I mean, Holly Hunter is wonderful, but then they get John Goodman in it, who works with the Coen brothers so much, and John Goodman is just so perfect in this movie. So to put this in context, this is Joel and they're the Coen brothers essentially attempt to make a marketable movie because the first couple that they had done didn't really. I mean, they were kind of critical darlings, but didn't really go commercially well. So this was their first attempt to make a real commercial movie, just kind of a straightforward comedy, but they still add their little kind of Coen brothers-y touches to it. So I want to hear what everyone thought. I want to hear all of your reactions to the movie, whether you've seen it before. Go.
Of the films we watched for this,
Mhm.
I'm surprised I'm saying this because it's a Coen Brothers film. This is probably my least favorite. Like
Okay.
I'm also gonna.
this is not like peak Coen Brothers, and it's early in the career, so you can see elements of like what's going on, like where their career is going to go. And I love the cast in this. Holly Hunter though, like every time I hear her voice, I just picture Invisigirl.
Yeah.
So like that kind of took me out of it. And she's so short. Like that's the one thing that I'm so used to her in The Incredibles, and like seeing her next to Nick Cage where she only comes up to like his belt. It's weird. But no, I enjoyed this. I didn't know what the film was about really. But no, it was okay. It just wasn't my favorite of what we watched.
Fair?
Yeah, I'm also gonna agree with Alan. When we did this for That's High Praise, this was a movie that was the first time I'd watched it was back then, and revisiting it for this podcast, I was like, there were times where like I'd laugh a little bit, but like, uh, I don't know, man. I like it. The performances are fine. Like it's just it's not my kind of comedy.
Sure.
But I will say this though: the first time Victims and Villains ever did Richmond Comic Con, I met a guy that actually cosplayed as Hyde. Like he had the baby diaper, like Pampers, the
Stocking.
like the stockings on his head, and I was like, come here real quick. So like we ended up talking. He's like, yeah, he's like, this is the first con, and my goal was to cosplay as every Nicolas Cage character ever. And the pictures are on our Instagram somewhere, but yeah, this movie's just kind of like out of the ones we watched, and like even in his career, like this one's kind of like definitely not quite as bad as some of his direct-to-video era, but it's not quite as grand as Pig.
Sure. I think that's fair. Ryan, what did you think?
Well, I have history with this movie. Raising Arizona was one of the few movies that both my parents agreed on when it came to comedies that they both liked. So I saw this routinely growing up, and I didn't care for it when I was a kid. In fact,
Sure.
I haven't seen this movie since I was probably 15.
Wow.
So revisiting this was kind of interesting because now I get the humor of why my parents liked it. And I'm still in the whole realm of, well, there's 2 scenes in this that I like, and that's about it. And that's the scene where he steals the Pampers, where he has the, where they do that whole thing. And then pretty much anything that has to do with the motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
dude, I
Yeah.
love the motorcycle guy. I forgot about him until like I really watched it, and just the scene of like him in the Nathan Arizona's office is probably my favorite scene in this movie. But he's so good in this movie.
Just to interject quick, Ryan, I swear I thought you were going to say your parents agreed on this movie because they stole you as an infant.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was my origin story.
Yeah.
I had to
It
love
was my
it.
origin story. That's why I'm blah on it. I've lived through this. I don't need to see it.
Surprise.
They just took the letters from Arizona and made Arno. That's
We
what
solved
they
it.
did. Yeah, they just dropped a
We
few
solved
letters.
it, guys. Oh, mystery solved.
This is
So,
Ryan's
Josh,
life
I wanted
story.
to get your read on this. I feel like you might know more about Cage than I do, but I heard there's some friction between Cage and the Coen brothers on this. Doing some research, I heard that he tried to improvise a lot on it, and the Coen brothers weren't having it. But I know they didn't come away with like great feelings after this movie.
I actually don't know. A lot of the trivia that I've learned about some of this stuff, some of the movies that we've covered on That's High Praise have kind of come like a little bit later on in the episode, so it's not something we initially like kind of like interject it into the stuff. So like I wouldn't be surprised. I know that I recently, speaking of directors, fun fact that a couple years after this he worked with David Lynch in Wild at Heart with Laura Dern, and they've kept in contact all these years, and for Unbearable Weight, he actually pushed really hard to get David Lynch to make a cameo in that movie, and their schedules just couldn't align for whatever reason. But
because David Lynch was too busy doing David Lynch was too busy doing weather reports in L.A.
Yeah,
Is that what he does?
That's what he does every day. David Lynch will get on his website and just talk about the weather. Hello, it's April 19th, and it's sunny and 72 degrees out in Los Angeles. I had a Pop-Tart for breakfast. Yeah.
These days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gotta love David Lynch.
I honestly couldn't think of a least interesting topic to talk about around LA because it's always sunny and beautiful in LA.
I mean, it's David
He
Lynch.
is at that age now.
Yeah.
It's David Lynch, and he's at that age.
Yeah.
We'll be there soon. We'll be there.
That's about the level of David Lynch that I can handle because I am not a David Lynch fan.
Unfortunately.
I
know.
Very much him.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to bring up about this movie, Ryan, there was specifically a reference in this movie that I thought you would think is interesting.
Okay.
On one of the bathroom stalls, there are the letters POE and OPE
Okay.
as a Doctor Strangelove reference.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
it's neat.
I totally missed that all of these times. Like I said, I watched this movie a lot when I was a kid because I was forced to watch it as like a preteen, a teenager, because that's what my parents wanted to watch, and I haven't seen it till I watched it this week. So I completely missed that. I mean, the one thing, the recovering Catholic in me still has my favorite line from this, and that is when High goes to offer a beer. Do you need a beer? And Glenn goes, does the Pope wear a funny hat? That will still always be my favorite line from this movie. So...
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. After rewatching this movie for this podcast, I feel like it was a bit of a misfire for me, because Cage isn't my favorite part of this movie. Cage is my favorite part, hands down, of every other movie we've chosen. But my favorite part of this movie is John Goodman and Frances McDormand. They steal it for me. I love them in everything they're in.
Like John Goodman, I can see. Frances McDormand wasn't really in this one that much.
No, but I loved her character so much that, like, I mean, because the whole point of this movie is essentially like to show what, you know, the American dream of a family is and what that like really means. And, you know, I think that Frances McDormand plays essentially like the mom that everyone loves to hate.
Sure.
And you know, with like the kids that are awful and she has no control over them and she'll snap but doesn't do much. And, you know, we all know that kind of, I don't know. I thought that it was such a great performance, even though it was only like 3 minutes in. I just love her.
Yeah.
And John Goodman's great.
Oh yeah.
That's all I have. Really,
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the movie.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It, like I said, it's not my favorite of the ones we did. It felt more like an episode of Fargo on FX. Like I could see them doing like a whole season of this. So I guess I see the Coen brothers, like where they go in this. So
yeah, so like I feel like I think I finally have the words to describe my feelings about the Coen brothers. I think I finally got it, and Alan helped me. And Alan helped me with this. Alan, the way that you feel about David Lynch is how I feel about the Coen brothers.
All right.
Like you understand why, like you can see other people can appreciate it. It's just not for you.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Devin, if you want to watch and like Devin, if you like the Coen brothers, Alan, you like the Coen brothers, Josh, you like the Coen brothers, you guys watch them as much as you want. Okay,
no, it's not for you, Josh.
It's fine. I got you.
I side with you.
Okay. So I mean, if you like the Coen brothers, that's fine. I'm not going to say a bad word about them. It's just going to be, it's not my thing. I get it. It's not my thing. You enjoy it. You have fun. Devin, you're
very like Ryan. You're always saying you don't do impressions, but that was very Larry David of you. Not my thing.
Just going off of what Ryan was saying, like I definitely understand the appeal and the charm of this movie. And like rewatching it, like I'm like, oh, this is a charming little movie. It's a movie that I honestly could have just watched once for that high praise and never come back to it. Yeah. But I don't know. Like it's not a terrible movie. It's just not my style. And I think it's what Ryan was talking about. It's just the style of the Coen brothers. As filmmakers, they're just not for me.
Yeah. I mean that's fair. I mean, I walked into a crowded theater with me and my family to watch a Coen brothers movie. I walked out having loved it. All of the rest of my family hated it. And
what film was that?
It was Hail Caesar.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I think we finally hit the trifecta. Devin, that's like the 6th time you've mentioned that story on the podcast.
I know. So now we get a prize or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so then to wrap this up, where does this fall in the Nick Cage scale? I'm going to give it a 5 for Nick Cage performance.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5, like mid-tier. Yeah.
Mid-tier, yeah. Not over the top, but...
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's a 5, mid-range, but there's more cagey moments in this than there was in Pig.
Yeah, I'll also go there. You can definitely start to see a lot of his like early mannerisms, especially because Vampire's Kiss is only a year away. Um, so yeah, I'll also go a 5.
Who knew he peaked in '88?
Yeah.
Oh, I got an education for you then.
For anyone who's wondering why we reference Vampire's Kiss so much, Devin and I did an episode of That's High Praise talking about it. So, Josh, is that available on the Victims feed?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check
Wherever
out
you are, just-
yeah. You can find that on the Victims and Villains podcast feed wherever you get podcasts. And here, Devin and I talk about that. I was also on for an episode for what was it called? Grand Isle with Nicolas Cage. It's pretty much his audition tape to play Joe Exotic.
What? He actually like pretty much played Joe Exotic in a movie 2 years earlier called Primal, and it's highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So there's something that I almost forgot about. I was just looking at my notes, and it's something I have to talk about because it fits into something that I feel like only I would notice, and it made me laugh in this. It never bothered me. It just made me laugh. So High's car, that like Impala, that 70s car that they drive around.
Yeah.
They have 2 cars, not one, and it's a production issue. It has to be. So I just looked it up because I saw my notes and I was like, okay, I need to find, and I found it real quick. So the Chevy alternates between a 72 Impala 4-door sedan and a 74 4-door hardtop, and it's blatant. Anybody who knows Chevys from like the mid 70s is going to notice this. Like, it's 2 different years of vehicles.
I'm so happy you picked the movie you picked for this, because the whole time I was like, Ryan's gonna love this.
All right.
Talking about 2 cars.
I'm like, hang on a second. They only mention them having 1 car. Why are they driving 2 different cars constantly in this film?
Do we want to just get into Ryan's pick since we're already talking about cars?
I'm happy to get into either. I really am.
Oh, well, just because it makes life easier. Okay, we'll skip over mine quick, and we'll talk about Ryan's pick. Gone in 60 seconds.
Okay, so my experience with this film is I saw it when I was in high school. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was like, oh, look, that's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage. This is a fun movie. And then around the same time, Fast and the Furious came out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I was like, when it came to car movies, when I was a teenager, I went towards like the Fast and the Furious end of things, not the Gone in 60 Seconds realm of things. And I saw this maybe 4 or 5 times when I was in high school. I haven't seen this movie since. Just like Raising Arizona, I haven't seen it since I was a teenager. And I have to say, and I'm not ashamed to say this is my favorite car movie now, after Ford versus Ferrari. This is my favorite car movie after Ford versus Ferrari because it's literally just a bunch of car nerds tweaking out about cars and stealing them.
Dare I say, that's high praise.
So that's my experience with this. I want to hear what your guys' experience was. What did you think of it?
I remember seeing this on like TNT all the time in the early 2000s and not caring at all about it. But it's a Jerry Bruckheimer production, so it looks like a Jerry Bruckheimer production and hits all the beats that they usually do. Like, you could show me clips of Nick Cage in this where he's not driving a car. I could be like, oh, that's National Treasure. Oh, that's National Treasure too. Like it feels like it fits in with his like Bruckheimer's style of film, like what the way they go about doing things. It really fit that style.
Yeah, I also too, like, I grew up like knowing of this movie, and when I got like really deep into like being friends with like car nerds, they were like, bro, you got to see this movie. And so like we sat down one night, we watched this and Fast and Furious back to back, and like this is the better of the movies. Um,
Is
Hmm.
I, I think it
it?
is
Okay,
just
okay, I love
because
that.
it's such a fun time, and I don't have to worry about following up with like sequels and worrying about who is and isn't in the family. We going to space, we going underwater, like I just don't care anymore.
All of
Um,
this.
And I mean,
but
well,
like
yeah, go ahead.
this is such a nostalgic trip, and we
Yeah.
talked about this when we talked about Pig. Is like this looks like an early like 2000s movie, and I absolutely adore it because of that. Like, granted, I don't know why we thought quick cuts and like cinematography looked cool at the time, but it was like, man, this movie just looks awesome, and it looks really weird in Blu-ray. I will say that though.
Oh, does it? Is it like too crisp?
Uh, it's not too crisp. It's just like it's very weird to see like something that's like crispy in like 2000 style. Like if you go and like get something from like the 30s to like the 60s, like it looks great,
Hmm.
stunning, but like you get something from like 2000, you're just like, the heck is this?
I mean, like Devin, imagine imagine the original Mortal Kombat movie remastered in HD. Do you really think that would make it look any better?
No, don't want it. Don't want. Don't want so hard.
I've
It doesn't. I
There we
can
go.
confirm.
There we go.
man,
There
I've
we
got
go.
I've got
my button for the and I've got my button here for the sequel.
Man.
if we're talking about bad CG, I've got one lined up here for the summer that you guys are gonna love.
Oh, I cannot wait. Good.
But
But-
And I know what it is, so I can see if I have it.
It's on the board behind me. That's all I'll say.
but yeah,
Okay.
and one of the things too, just like what Josh was saying about like between Fast and the Furious and Gone in 60 Seconds, you've got two completely different car movies. And the thing is, like, I'm a big import guy. I love Japanese cars, so
Mhm.
Fast and the Furious is more like aligned with like the car culture that I like.
Mhm.
Gone in 60 Seconds though is just fun. Like it's just outright fun.
What
And that's what I want in a car movie.
what I liked about it is it's a heist movie, and I like heist
Yeah.
movies.
I do
Uh,
too.
And I know Fast and the Furious got there eventually with the heist movies, but I don't have to. I don't want to have to watch 4 films to understand what Fast Five is, what they're stealing in that, like, and why. This one is just like, yeah, we're just gonna steal all these cars because Giovanni Ribisi's got himself in trouble. It's like, oh, baby Giovanni Ribisi, like, what are you doing? Like, come on.
Well, and I'm glad you made the comparison between this and Fast and Furious, because I know that, like, I literally left this movie today going like, why isn't there like Gone in 360 seconds at this point? Like, why aren't there 8,000 of these movies? Because this is so fun. Like, and it seems like this and Fast and Furious kind of went up against each other, and Fast and Furious was like, well, we got the franchise, and ran with it. But like, what a shame.
I honestly don't know that this is like franchisable. If
Yeah.
that's a word that I can create for a second. Like this is like to me, like there are certain films that I feel like just stand alone so perfectly, and like Dumb and Dumber is a great example. Like the first one is such a good movie, and then you get into the second one and the prequel, and you're like, why?
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that Bruckheimer kind of stuck to his guns and says, "All right, this was the story I was trying to tell. I've done it. I'm done." Like there are a few Nicolas Cage, like The Rock's another great example of like Bruckheimer and Cage teaming up. Like I would have loved to kind of see what they would have been able to do like in another sequel to that. I think that was like perfect for a franchise. But when you
Yeah.
talk about Gone in 60 Seconds, like no, like this one stands alone so well.
This time they have to steal 100 cars in one day.
Right. Like,
Yeah. But Devin, what did you? Because you didn't see this before.
no, but I realized I'd seen like parts of it. It was probably like Alan, where like I'd seen bits and pieces like on TV at some point, but never sat down to watch the whole thing. Again, I love this movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it was I think the right amount of Nicolas Cage for this movie. he had his moments where he got to be fun, and then he also was like pretty serious. But also, like Alan, like I love heist movies. I just do. Like I love the assembling the crew. I love the stakes. I love the time limit. I love, oh, who's the mechanic gonna be, and then how are they gonna fight a bit, and who are they up against, and I thought it was so great. I love this movie.
And it's got a great cast.
Yeah.
Not only
Yeah.
do you have Nicolas Cage,
Yes.
you got Angelina Jolie, you got Giovanni Ribisi, Scott Conn, Robert Duvall. So you have like a little bit of a Godfather connection there. So
Also, you have Doctor Who himself, the reboot
You
master,
do.
kicker offer, with really bad, weird hair in Christopher Eccleston.
I think
He's so good in this.
Christopher Eccleston should be the villain in every Nick Cage movie. Because
can
I think he can
up.
he can take what Cage has given him and give it right back to him. It was such a over the top performance.
Yeah, and it just like that's. There are multiple things why I've discovered that I've like relearned to like love this movie pretty much when I watched it. Is I love the fact that they set up a joke at the very beginning of the movie they set up a 5-second joke for the end of the movie at the very beginning. It was like, he's called the Carpenter. Like, why is he called this crime boss is called the Carpenter? That's really kind of silly. But it's like he's talking about, he goes on about how metal is cold and how he likes wood and all this other stuff. And of course I remember my 12, my like 14-year-old self giggling at that. But anyway,
I still giggled that. So
Yeah.
So that, and then of course like the reveal of the coffin, like, oh, okay, this just went from silly to kind of serious, and then at the end you've got him freaking out because Nicolas Cage is destroying all of his like pieces, and it's just it's great. But yeah, no, I love how silly that this movie can be too, and it hit all the right check marks for me. And the fact that like the silliness of Nicolas Cage was built into the storyline. Like my favorite
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage moment in this is when he's pretending to be the snob at the Ferrari dealership.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It's like there's too many
Oh,
bloody
man.
wieners in this city driving these cars.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, what a good scene.
Yeah, so I mean that's just, I'm happy that you guys enjoyed it, because it was just one of those things where it's like I'm watching, I'm like, God, they're just gonna shake their heads and go, this is a typical Ryan movie. Like it's
Yeah.
I mean, in some reasons, I was like, oh, okay, I get why Ryan picked this. They really love their cars in this. I couldn't care less about which car they're taking. Just, I want to see more Nicolas Cage taking them.
Yeah, and in fact, the funny thing is, Eleanor has stuck in like car culture. So like whenever anybody sees like a late model like Mustang, like of
Mhm.
that year, the one that they talk about, like on Facebook, online, I've seen for sale ads calling it Eleanor.
Oh, that's
awesome.
cool.
So I mean, like that's like imprinted into car culture at this point.
very cool. Anything else on God in 60 Seconds?
No.
Nah.
I think on the Nicolas Cage meter, I give this one a 7.
I'm right there with
Yeah,
you. 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
It-
a
I think he's starting to hit his stride a bit.
Yeah, I think the moment that really gets me there is let's ride. Like
I don't know.
like next time I hear Lowrider by War, I'm doing that.
You
I
have
don't
to.
I don't care if I'm at the grocery store. I've done weirder things to music playing at the grocery store. So I'm going to just have to do that and like stop mid sentence and just be like, "Hold on. Let's ride." Yeah. All right.
Love it.
So that brings us to our final pick. My pick. I want to take his face off. So this is John Woo's Face Off, starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. Devin, you had never seen this before, right?
I've never seen this.
Okay. Josh and Ryan, under what circumstances did you see this for the first time? Because I saw this for the first time unedited in college.
All right. So, when Victims and Villains first started getting into doing Nicolas Cage content, we did this thing in November. We called it Nicolas Cage November, where we picked we had 4 guests, and during over 4 weeks we split it up. We split that list of 40 films into 10. And basically, we brought the people in. They would talk about their projects. We wouldn't tell them what they were there for, and I would reveal, hey, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna spin this wheel, and whatever movie this lands on, we're gonna go watch it and talk about it. And it landed on Face Off, and I was with one of the gentlemen from Amalgamania, which is a great Hagerstown group, and that was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I was like, I heard about it a lot, and I knew a little bit about it, but I was just kind of like, okay, I've got thoughts. It's a lot better the second time around than it is like the first time, because the first time I'm just like, I feel like I smoked like a bunch of like pot and like ate a bunch of edibles, and like here I am for this. So anyways,
Yeah.
Before Ryan goes, I have a special treat that I teased for this movie.
Are you real? Are you
all right.
real? Are you really Nicolas Cage in Josh's face?
No, I wish. All right. So I'm guessing the viewers out there on Twitch and Facebook are old enough to remember what one of these are. But long before we would play movies and discs and digitals, we had bricks called VHSs, and long before those, we had laser discs.
Oh, Laserdisc.
How do you have a laser disc of this movie?
I bought
Oh,
it
I
at a garage
absolutely-
sale for $4.
They had
And
no
it will
idea
be-
what they were selling.
Do you?
It will be framed.
I need to know. Do you have a Laserdisc player?
I don't. I bought this because my goal also too is to buy like a wall of laser discs, like to buy enough laser discs, and get like vinyl like holders,
Yeah.
and just like plaster a wall in my
Since,
my office with them.
since you brought up Laserdisc, let me tell you how much I am annoyed by Laserdiscs as somebody who collects soundtracks on vinyl. Like, I'll be going through the vinyl section for soundtracks, and most of the time when I get excited for one, it's a Laserdisc.
Yeah, so like the laser discs, like I just don't understand the concept, because like, so this laser disc in particular, this movie is a little under 2 hours and 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
There are 3 laser discs for this. So in a span of 2 hours and what is it, like 20 minutes or something like that, you have to get up. Yeah, 2 hours and 140 minutes. You have to get up and change it 3 times in order to complete the movie.
I mean, there's a reason they call CDs compact discs.
Yeah.
There.
But yeah, that's ridiculous. Like I can get like having to split a VHS tape into 2 like Titanic, but yeah, there's a reason that didn't pick up.
Oh, that's delightful though. I love that.
So Ryan, how about you? What are your memories
This
of
was one of
Face
my
Off?
favorite action. Face Off was one of my favorite action movies as like a kid and like a teenager, and it was just silly and guns and swearing and music, and being a teenager that was cool, so I watched it a lot. And I haven't seen it in like 10 years, and watching it this time, I don't know. I just don't have the affinity for it that I used to, and I don't know why. Like,
Really?
there are scenes that obviously that I love that are funny, and there are like, I would say, chapters of the movie that I really enjoy. But then there's others where it's just like, I really want to skip forward. I really want to fast forward to my next scene.
No,
But-
I'm right there with Ryan. As much as I love this movie and this movie's fun, there are so many parts of this movie that drag.
Oh yeah.
It is just like, it just drags its knuckles in certain parts, and it's like the last like 40 minutes of this movie is like really what I care about, where you ultimately have the 2 of them. And fun trivia fact for this movie, this is one of very few scenes that Nicolas Cage has ever filmed that he actually regrets or thinks he went too far in a scene. And the one in particular is where he's dressed up as the priest, and he walks behind the girl and he grabs her butt.
Okay, yep. I was gonna. It.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely scenes in this that don't age well. But go ahead, Devin.
No, I mean, so at least from my standpoint, the only thing I knew about this movie going into it was the quote that Alan said. Like, I knew at some point their faces were coming off. Like, that's really all I knew about it. This movie has such a good, like, I think, especially considering the auspice under which we watched this movie, this put such a good foot forward with Nicolas Cage just at a 10. Like, the second you see him, he is peak Cage. He is perfect. From that point on, I'm like, this movie, you have me. You've done the work. Again, the pre-scene was a little bit weird, but him headbanging to the choir singing, perfect. Chef's kiss.
And what I think the film does so well, and like why you have him at peak Cage in that, is because then you have to have John Travolta come in and be that level of insane. Yeah. And I think, to the film's credit, he does it very well. Like, it doesn't come off as an impression, but he's just as crazy as he is.
Yeah.
I have to get back to my mic a little bit, but one of my favorite lines is where they've already switched and Castor comes back. John Travolta walks into the prison to see him, and he goes, you good looking.
Yeah.
That line gets me every time.
Yeah. Yeah, like it even though Nick Cage is playing the straight man in this for most of it, when he's in John Travolta's body but with Nicolas Cage's face, there are elements of like just batshit insane. Like, you can tell like he's like struggling to keep his sanity, like looking at the face of the man who killed his son in the mirror. And like the scene where he's high on drugs is just insane, because that's where you get the I want to take his face off. And it's just such a great performance by both of these guys.
Nobody give that man drugs anymore.
Yeah. I guess they spent 2 weeks together and like learn each other's mannerisms and work together closely on this. And oh man, it's so crazy.
Yeah, and a prime example is when you've got John Travolta right after he gives the daughter the knife to like defend herself, and he's slouched in the chair. And I've seen Nicolas Cage slouched in a chair like that in multiple movies, where he's just like, he's fed up, he's stressed out, his character's done, and he's just like slouched completely down with his arms up. And I'm like, yeah, that's the mannerisms. Like, they really have the basics down. And I love the fact that John Travolta can be as nuts as Nicolas Cage, and it worked out.
Let us also not forget that Adam Wingard is also making a remake of this movie.
Have they announced the cast of this yet?
They haven't, but on the press tour, so they actually said that they would like to bring I don't know how this works, because like they said that they would like to redo it essentially in modern day with both Travolta and Cage. To me, just doesn't, I don't, it seems weird to me, but Cage said that like if he got offered he's more than open to do it. And seeing some of the movies he's done in the last 5 years, like I'm here for it, but I am pretty much down for anything Nick Cage, so I'll be interested to see what they do with this.
Okay, if they're making a modern day reboot, who, like, everyone has to answer this question. Okay. Who do you cast to switch roles? Like, who do you cast in the Nick Cage role, and who do you cast as John Travolta?
Okay, I like this question.
Rock and Kevin Hart.
I knew you were going to say that. That's the obvious answer. But at the same time, like, isn't that kind of what they're already doing in Jumanji? Like, they're playing different versions of other people.
Yeah, you're right. All right, give me a second to think about
Okay.
it.
Yeah, because I need a second too.
I'm gonna go. Oh goodness. Idris Elba and Steve Buscemi is what I want.
Okay.
I can't think of two polar opposites. I want that.
Oh, we're going polar opposites here
I
because
think I'm going polar opposites.
Alan never
All
said
right.
total opposite. Devin does
No,
this.
I did
Yeah.
this. I did this.
Other
No,
contingencies on
he's
his
fine.
picks.
He's fine with that. Like that's what he wants.
I'll do it.
I know that's fine.
I
He can
want
do
it
that.
really
I'm just
giving.
letting Josh know that that's not necessarily what he wants.
I want
Okay,
Buscemi
all
eyes
right.
on Idris Elba is what I really want.
All right. Go ahead, Alan.
All right. So I think my pick is I'm going a different way. Like these two actors have worked together, and the one I want to see do more comedy, I'm going Seth MacFarlane and Liam Neeson.
Oh my god.
All right, all right.
I almost said Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor just to bring back Kenobi and Qui-Gon, but
Oh,
All right. So I got two left choices for you. If the
Ooh.
studios decide to keep it males, I'm gonna go Matthew Lillard and Jack Black.
okay.
And since it's this is one of my favorite movies of all time, if they decide that they're going to switch it up and go females,
Mhm.
let's do a callback to Showgirls and do Elizabeth Berkley and Gina Gershon.
Is it
Good.
is it too soon for me to say Will Smith and Chris Rock?
Dude, I would be down for that.
Also, I had to look up who Matthew Lillard was. Phenomenal choice. Excellent choice.
Ryan, how about you?
I am going off of movies that I haven't necessarily seen, but scenes that I've seen these actors do. Well, I mean, the one actor I know the catalog, I know what he's done. The other actor, I've seen maybe one or two movies he's in, but I've seen scenes that he's done.
Yeah.
And I feel like these two names would work for something like this.
Okay.
Zac Efron
Okay.
and Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Zac Efron and Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe would play the psycho, okay, to start off with,
Mhm.
because he's good at that. And then Zac Efron, because he's done kind of stuff like this before.
Yeah.
He'd play the, mentally broken cop.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
I think another
wanna-
I could keep going with this. Josh, go ahead.
I want to switch mine out. Instead of Jack Black, I'm gonna go Matthew Lillard and Matthew McConaughey. All right.
All right. Another option that popped in my head is just the classic duo of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Ooh.
Why not Affleck and Pitt?
It's just
I
Ben
can see that working.
just Ben Affleck eating every scene.
Ben Affleck and Brad Pitt.
I'm down. Give
Yeah.
it to me.
I'd watch it.
I still want my Zac Efron and Daniel Radcliffe though. I still want...
I think I just figured out how we're going to give away these passes. I think we're going to have to we're going to have to do a clip of this and just have people leave their comments. Who would you cast in the Face Off remake and why? Let us know in the
All right.
comments.
You clip that and you send it to me. I'll run it on all of our
Oh,
socials.
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I've got for Face Off. Like it I guess we can rank it. So
Cageometer for me was a 10.
10.
10.
Yeah.
10.
I'm going to go all the way up to 11 because of the the priest headbanging is just
Oh, it literally sold me on the whole movie. That single motion had me.
Well, that
I-
and when he's like, crying, then not crying when he's about to like die before he like tries to stab
Travolta.
Travolta, which I mean, I still find it funny. If you get hit with a blast of like a jet engine like that in a wind tunnel, I'm sorry, but he would have no face to be able to graph. Just saying. I'm just putting that out there.
that's your problem with the science of this movie
It's
That's
not a problem. I'm just saying, realistically speaking, prior to the Star Trek level, like plastic surgery that they do, that yeah, no, getting behind a jet engine like that would be one crisp cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay. So we unintentionally we did these in rank from lowest to highest level of cage, which I think is phenomenal, and we could not have planned that any better. Let's talk a little bit quick about the unbearable weight of massive talent. I might go see this weekend. Josh, I'm sure you're going to see this, correct?
Yes, I'm going to see it twice on opening night, and then I'll
Okay.
probably see it again throughout some point of the weekend, and then my co-host and I of That's High Praise are going to see it next week again.
So you're seeing it
yes,
4 times.
within the week. So by the time any of you meet me at Horrific Hope, I will have seen Unbearable Weight 4 times.
You'll just be Nick
Maybe
Cage at that
5.
point.
Yeah, I'll probably be more like the wax figure that he tries to buy off of Pedro Pascal, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited because
I've heard good things.
yeah, it's last I saw it was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that I used Rotten Tomatoes as a basis for going to the movies, but that's rare that you hear 100% out of something like South by Southwest. I'm excited that the doing this watch through of all these movies, like the Golden Guns from Face Off are in it, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, they are.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are iconic. Like those are.
These are my guns.
Yeah, no, those guns are iconic.
But yeah, I'm excited to check it out. Devin, Ryan, you guys gonna try to go see this?
Ryan, are you too caged out to see this?
No, it's not. I mean, besides the whole cage thing, like I'm just too busy. These like this next month of weekends, I'm just too busy.
So if I offered like to do the usual Monday screening thing with you that we do for shows, would you do it? Want to go Monday? That's a no.
You're allowed to think about it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like my thing is that like this next coming weekend we're gonna be gone like possibly all Sunday again. I mean,
you're good. Don't need to explain.
Sunday again, and so it's just I need time.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think that does it for our Nick Cage special. Josh, where can people find you and Victims and Villains?
So I am on social media at Captain Nostalgia on Letterboxd and Gent Ghostface over on TikTok. You guys can also follow Victims and Villains. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and wherever you guys get your podcasts from. If you guys are interested in listening and you're not like Ryan and you're not caged out, go check out That's High Praise. It's on the Victims and Villains feed along with Marvel stuff that Alan does for us with Josh, our horror podcasts, anime podcasts, and all the other stuff we do. So
awesome. So in the chat, we had somebody suggest a face-off casting that I missed. Jason Momoa and Henry Cavill. Simply based from the meme.
Oh.
That's a really good one.
And then the other comment,
a great one.
And then the other comment that I'm seeing on Facebook right below that I am not reading because it's spam. So check out the Horrific Hope Film Festival. I'm going to post a link to that in the Twitch chat right now. I will be there. I'm also on Victims and Villains coming up in a episode that you can watch now on their Twitch channel. And we'll be coming to their feed soon, where me and my fellow Marvel correspondent, the other Josh from Victims and Villains, talk about Doctor Strange from 2016 in preparation for Multiverse of Madness, along with a mini review of the first 3 episodes of Moon Knight and our review of the Thor Love and Thunder trailer. So you can check that out on their Twitch channel. It says it's just a Moon Knight review, but it's not. It's more than that. So, but yeah, you can check me out there. You can find You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms. If you're watching us here on Twitch, go ahead and hit that follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're watching us on Facebook, in any one of the several Nicolas Cage groups that Josh shared this video in, give us a follow. Like we post a lot of, we go live every week talking about movies. Next week we've got a fun one in line. Usually our gimmick is we watch a movie one of us has never seen. Because I won our Oscar poll, I get to pick a movie that we've all seen just to talk about it for fun. And that pick is going to be Galaxy Quest. So tune in next week for our Galaxy Quest episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. It got pushed back a few weeks, so that's my pick for next week. Galaxy Quest starring Alan Rickman, Tim Allen, and Sigourney Weaver. Josh, thank you again for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you, and we'll have to come on Victims sometime soon as a group, not just me. So I was actually thinking,
door is always open.
I was actually thinking, so I don't have to do it twice. Maybe we'll just have the guys on to talk about Multiverse of Madness with other Josh, and just do a combo episode.
Do it.
All right. Well, I'll run it by Josh, and we'll see. So that'll be in a few weeks. So, all right. For You Have to Watch This podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And we will see you next week. Never give up. Never surrender.